Hey, sports fans, this is Robert with WTP Sports News. Man, I've been having a lot of technical difficulties with this daggone live stream. Man. But I got it working so far. Hopefully, I won't have any complications when we go live tomorrow. I wanted to jump on real quickly because I wasn't able to get on the live stream this morning with Level Up Sports 10 Mossberg and City League TV T1. I wasn't able to get on with them this morning. I had to go to my grandson's christening this morning. My 2-month old grandson, Mercy Divine Bush, got christened this morning, so I had to go and be there for that. Which, man, it was so enjoyable, so enjoyable. So I was glad I got to participate in that and see my grandson get christened this morning. So I wasn't able to get on, but some of our subscribers had some questions that they wanted me to answer. So I'm going to try to answer some of those questions real quickly. I'm not going to be very long, maybe 20, 30 minutes at the most. But I'm glad I was able to get on today and share some of my thoughts on some of the questions that they had for me today. So I'm going to go with this first question. Was that a targeting on Miami in the Cal game? Anytime you look at those targeting questionable calls, you try to slow the thing down so that you can see what kind of contact is being made with, whether it be helmet to helmet or helmet to the neck head area. And if you look at that from all the angles that they had, according to the rule, anytime you hit a guy in his neck or head area, and he's up high, it's considered targeting. I really do believe that the referees probably should have called targeting on that, just based on what the rule says. It should have been targeting, and Cal should have gotten a first down, 1st and 10, with another 4 downs to try to milk the clock against Miami. That didn't happen. Miami got the ball back and was able to drive down the field and win that game. But I do believe, according to the way the rule reads, it was targeted. The next question is, where should Alabama and Georgia be ranked in the top 25? It's a really tough one. But when you think about it, if you have undefeated teams, even though those undefeated teams that are in the Power Four conferences have not played as tough a schedule as maybe Alabama or Georgia have played, I still think those teams should be rewarded for the fact that they're undefeated. Now, I'm not talking about group of 5 teams. I'm talking about Power Four teams like your Iowa States, your Indianas. I think those teams should get rewarded for the fact that they have not lost any games so far. And they play games, so they could have easily lost some of those games, but they didn't. Excuse me for that. Sometimes when I talk so fast, my vocal cords can't keep up with how fast my brain is moving. But I really do believe that those teams, excuse me again, those teams should get rewarded for the fact that they're undefeated after 6 weeks of college football. And Alabama lost to a 2-2 Vanderbilt team who was unranked. Now, it was on the road. It was in Vanderbilt. It was in Nashville. That's no excuse. You just came off of a huge victory against Georgia the week before. I don't think that they should have been still up in the top 5 or 6 in the polls. Now, Alabama was actually 7. They went from 1 to 7, which was a nice drop. But I think they should have been 9 myself. And I think that Georgia should be 10, because I don't think Georgia should be ahead of Alabama if I mean, since they lost to Alabama, I don't think that they should be ranked ahead of them. But if I was doing the polls and I was voting, they would have been 9 and 10 in my voting. I would have had the undefeated Iowa State ahead of them. Another question that one of the subscribers wanted me to answer was, who should be number one? Now, anytime you have a team that had a bye, you don't necessarily want to, move them out of the position that they were in. But at the same time, maybe they shouldn't be put up a space or two either. So I really do believe that the Ohio State Buckeyes should be ranked number one, simply because after 6 weeks, they're undefeated. They beat a team in Iowa that was pretty decent. I mean, they handled Iowa pretty easily, but I still do believe that the Texas win over Michigan is really not that great of a win at this point, because we've seen that Michigan has dropped another game, and they've been in some tight games ever since that loss to Texas. So I don't think that Texas win over Michigan is all that great anymore. So I really do believe that the Ohio State Buckeyes, just based on what they've done so far, should be ranked number one. Now, of course, as the season still goes on, if Ohio State wins next week against Oregon and Texas beats Oklahoma, that win against Oregon is going to be a much better win than the win against Oklahoma. So Ohio State might get a chance to be number one next week, which I think they should be number one right now, but they're not. They're ranked number two, which they mean they moved up a spot and Texas moved up a spot once Alabama lost that game on Saturday to Vanderbilt. Next question. Who wins the ACC? At the beginning of the year, I thought that Miami was the best team in the ACC. Now, I'm not saying that Miami is still not the best team in the ACC, but these past 2 weeks has really shown that Miami has some struggles defensively, and they have some struggles on their offensive line. The way I've seen Cam Ward running around in that backfield the last 2 games lets me know that their offensive line isn't as good as I thought it was at the beginning of the season. And Cam Ward, a lot of times, is scrambling around and running for his life, trying to find a receiver downfield, which once they play against some of those teams who can stop the run, who got those good defensive backs, Miami's going to be in trouble. And I really do believe at this time that Clemson is the best team, even though they have a loss to Georgia, a blowout loss to Georgia. I think at this point, Clemson is the more complete team between them and Miami. And I believe that Clemson will be the team that wins the ACC. Next question. What conference will get the most teams in the 12-team playoff? Well, that's a really, really good question. Because if you have been watching our shows on Saturday mornings, we've been talking about the projections for who would possibly play if the 12-team playoff, if the 12-team playoff was being played right then and there after each week. And last week, you've seen that there were some changes. And Michigan got in for the first time, which Michigan won't be in there again this week. And then there were some other teams that was in there weeks before that aren't in there. And I don't think that, some of those teams that were in there earlier are going to be in there. Like Tennessee won't be in there. Michigan won't be in there again. And some other teams. So it changes every week. So once the season is probably over, I believe that you're going to get 3 SEC teams in there, and I believe you're going to get 3 Big Ten teams in there. And the reason why I think that is because I believe that Notre Dame is going to get one of those spots. Then you also know that you're going to get a group of 5 team that's going to get a spot, which right now it looks like it's going to be Boise State. But the season has to still play out. But right now, when we do our 12-team playoff scenario this Saturday, Boise State was going to be representing the group of 5 teams. And I really do believe that the Big 12 may only get 1 team. I'm hoping that they can get 2, and I'm hoping that the ACC can get 2. And then you'll have your 3 from the Big 10, 3 from the SEC, and then you'll get not Miami, but Notre Dame, and then a group of 5 teams. So that will give you your 12 teams. But I really do believe that Ohio State, what am I talking about? The Big 10 and the SEC are going to both probably get 3 teams apiece. That's what I'm thinking. Next question. Can Ashton Jeanty from Boise State win the Heisman? Right now, in my opinion, he has to be the Heisman frontrunner. Because most times you're looking at these quarterbacks who you think should be the Heisman frontrunners. But I don't think that there's any quarterbacks right now who are playing so well that they should be ahead of Ashton Jeanty for the Heisman Trophy. Now, I understand he plays for Boise State, and I understand that Boise State is not in a Power 5 conference. But what he's able to do on that football field, the amount of yards he gets per carry is incredible. And he also played against Oregon, and he rushed for over 150 yards on Oregon and 3 touchdowns. So that lets you know that this running back is legit. Actually, he could have went somewhere else if he wanted to. He could have went to any of those Power 4 schools that needed a running back, and many of them did. And many Power 4 schools and other schools, they want to have 2 running backs. He could have went anywhere that he wanted to go in the country to play, and teams would have taken him. And I believe that he right now is my Heisman frontrunner, and I believe that he can win it because the way the quarterbacks are playing right now, none of them has solidified themselves as a Heisman frontrunner. Every week you think you got this one quarterback that's going to win it, he's leading, and then the next week, even though his numbers might be good, his performance may not be as good as his numbers say. And that's how I feel about Cam Ward. He's won 2 games where he had to come back and make something happen, and he did. But at the same time, his team fell behind because of some of the things that he was out there doing on the field, interceptions or bad reads and things of that nature. So I really do believe that Ashton Jeanty, the running back from Boise State, can win the Heisman Trophy. It's going to be hard because, it's a trophy that they want to give to quarterbacks all the time. But I really do believe that he could win the Heisman Trophy. Next question. Who wins the Big 12? Now, this is the conference that we talk about very little because it's just really nobody that really looks like they want to take that conference by the throat and just strangle it out and win it. It's like you look at them one week, you think BYU is the team, and they're undefeated. And then the next week, you look up, you got Iowa State. One week, you think it's Kansas State. I thought Oklahoma State and Kansas were going to be good, but they're not any good. Now, they might knock off a few teams later on in the season that is trying to vie for that position to win the Big 12, but right now they're not looking good. And 2 teams that I had no idea would even be the leaders of the Big 12 are leading the Big 12 right now in Iowa State and BYU. But I'm going to say this, and I'm going to go on record and say this. If Colorado continues to keep improving week in and week out, and they stay in 11 personnel. Now, their first 4 games, they were in 10 personnel. That's 1 running back, no tight ends. just those 5 linemen, and teams were pressuring Shedeur Sanders every down. He was running for his life. Against UCF, Colorado decided, no, we're going to go into 11 personnel. 11 personnel is 1 running back, 1 tight end. And what that does is it causes your defensive ends to have to spread out a little bit wider, which means they got to go a farther distance to get to the quarterback, which gives the quarterback a little bit more time to throw the ball. And if you got a tight end there, now you got to account for this tight end. Is he going to block? Is he going to chip and go out in for a passing route? You really can cause linebackers to be frozen for a moment so that your receivers can get behind them and you can have that intermediate game. You can do all sorts of things when you're in 11 personnel. Now, I know a lot of people probably think, man, I'd rather have 4 wide receivers out there than 3 wide receivers and a tight end. I don't want no slow old tight end out there. But what it does to a front 7 is why you want a tight end on the field, because it causes your front 7 to have to function a lot differently when they don't have no tight end and they got 4 wide receivers out there. So as long as Colorado stays in that 11 personnel and they continue to get better and better each week, and they're able to keep Shedeur Sanders off of his backside, they are going to be hard to beat in the Big 12 now. Now, this is the Big 12. Now, if they were in the Big 10 or the SEC, I wouldn't be saying this, but it's the Big 12. And I think they can beat anyone in the Big 12 if they can stay in 11 personnel and function from that formation, because they can do so much. And they got wide receivers. They got a good running back. And that helps that line out a lot when you got that tight end there to help with the blocking, who can also be your outlet in the pass game once the play breaks down or you can't find your receivers. So it's better to have a tight end trying to block and chip than to have a running back. That's for sure. So I really do believe that it's going to come down to BYU, Iowa State, and Colorado. And if I had to choose one of those teams, I'm going to be a homer and go with Colorado, because I really do want to see Deion Sanders light it up. I really do. So I'm going to say Colorado. I'm going to go out on a whim and say that. You heard it from me. Colorado is going to win the Big 12. Next question. What's your thoughts on the refs so far? And I'm really not a referee basher, but sometimes I'm like, dude, was you even looking? Did you even see what was going on in the play? Because some of the calls that gets made, it really do make you wonder, does Vegas have something to do with it? And I hate to think like that because I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but some of the calls that happens with some of these referees, it makes you wonder, were you even paying attention to the play? What's going on? Is the fix in or what? Because you remember not many years ago, the NBA referee who was cheating, and you just don't want that to be the case. And I don't think any of these referees are cheating. I just think sometimes they just miss calls. And sometimes they miss calls at the wrong times, and it costs teams wins, like that Miami and Cal game. You don't want the referee to be the reason why somebody won or lost a game, which is really never the case. But, sometimes they miss a call at the end of the game where the game could have went either way. And in this instance, I thought it was excuse me. I thought it was a targeting call, just by the way the rule was written, and it looked like that young man was up above that quarterback's shoulders. He got him with a really good lick, and he led with his helmet, even though they might not have hit helmet to helmet. He did hit the quarterback above his shoulders. And according to the rule, that should have been considered targeting. Other than that, I mean, the refereeing is a hard job, man, because it's all judgmental. It's all based on what you think. Do you think this guy was holding? Do you think this guy, was pass interference? And they just got a tough job, man. Um, I mean, I would imagine if they could go to review on everything, they would, but then the games would be 6 hours long. And who wants that? Who wants to watch a football game for 6 hours? Nobody. You want it to be the 3 hours. If you can get under 3 hours, you want that. You just want to see good football, but you don't want to be there all day watching the same game. So I'm going to give the referees a little bit of slack, even though I think they've missed some very, very, very pertinent calls so far, which every year they do. But I'm going to lay them some slack because it's a hard job. And if that was my father or my mother out there refereeing, I wouldn't want nobody, coming at their neck because they missed a call. Human error, it happens. Next question. This, I believe, is the last question that we have. Who's your top 10? Who's my top 10? Well, earlier I said that I would put Georgia at 10 and Alabama at 9. But who would I put ahead of them? So, and I did say that Ohio State should be number 1. So I at least got 3 of those spots filled. Well, if Ohio State is 1, then that means Texas has to be 2. So that's 4 spots filled. 1 is Ohio State, 2 is Texas, 10 is Georgia, 9 is Alabama. I would go BYU at 8, Iowa State at 7, Clemson at 6, Miami at 5, Oregon, Penn State at 4, Oregon at 3, Texas at 2, and Ohio State at 1. That would be my top 10 right now after 6 weeks of playing ball. I think it's 6 weeks. Yeah, Texas is 5, but now it was off this week. They had a bye. Yeah, so that would be my top 10. Ohio State, Texas, Oregon, Penn State, Miami, Clemson, Iowa State, BYU, Alabama, and Georgia. I really thought about Notre Dame as well. I really thought about Indiana as well. Because Notre Dame has gotten 2 pretty good wins. They beat Louisville the week before, and then they went down to College Station and beat Texas A&M first game of the season. Those are huge wins, in my opinion. I mean, those wins are better than the Texas win over Michigan. So I really consider those teams in my top 10, but I decided to keep Georgia and Alabama there because they are 2 really, really good teams. We just don't know what they're going to look like. And Georgia has a pretty tough schedule. Alabama has a pretty tough schedule. So we're going to see how they come out on the other end. So we'll get to see. And I really do believe, and this will be the last thing that I'll end on, whenever you got, a top 25, and you got all of these games that are going to be played, if you go ahead and drop a team, it's okay, because they're going to play plenty more games to get an opportunity to show that, oh, no, I should be up there where I was before. You're going to get an opportunity to show that you're supposed to be up there. And at the same time, it might show that, hey, this is where you need to be because you lost again, or you lost again, or you lost again. So you're going to get opportunity to decide where you should be ranked at when you play your games. So don't be worried about if you get dropped. I mean, I think, who was it? Tennessee, I think their loss, they fell like 9 spots or something. They fell from like 4 all the way. No, it might have been 10 spots, I think, to 14. So, I mean, it's going to happen. But that's okay, because if you keep on winning, you get a chance to get back up to 4. And I don't think it's an issue if somebody gets dropped. Like I thought Georgia should have failed further than 5 when they lost to Alabama. They should have failed further than that. And now you in a dilemma because now Alabama lost, and now you drop them to 7. But should Georgia be ahead of them at 5? No. We just dumped your score, even though it was only a 1-point win or whatever it was. They were beating the snot out of Georgia. But I really do believe that anytime, week in and week out, you should go ahead and rank those people the way it should be ranked based on if they won or lost, and allow those teams that are behind them to be able to move up further than what they're moving in. Even though they might not have the strength of schedule like that team that lost, they still should have the opportunity to get there. And that team who fell still got opportunity to prove that they're supposed to be up there, and they'll get a chance to get back up there. But that's just my opinion. I'm not a voter. Don't want to be a voter. Ain't nothing I'm interested in, but I like talking about college football. I like talking about sports. So that's why I'm on tonight. I just wanted to do that real quick. So I'm glad I was able to get on because I wasn't able to get on this morning. Shout out to my 2-month-old grandson again for getting christened today. Way to go. Mercy Divine Bush. So without anything else further to say, I appreciate you for supporting us and subscribing to our channel. Please continue to share our videos and hit the like button. Let us know how we're doing. Always get on our videos, and just even if you don't get to watch them live, whenever you watch them in your spare time, go in the comments and let us know how we're doing. Let us know if there's any other kind of sports content you want us to talk about, because we want to really be here for those people who are fans of whatever sport they're fans of, because we're willing to talk about whatever sport. It doesn't matter. We'll do our research. We'll find out the information that you want, and we'll give it to you in our opinion. You know, we ain't always going to give you someone else's thoughts. We're going to give you the thought that we have about whatever the sport is, whatever the situation is. So, like I said earlier, we appreciate you for your support. Please continue to support us. Please share our videos. Tell your families and friends, hey, they're doing something real nice over there at WTP Sports Dudes, at Level Up Sports Team, and at City League TV. Go ahead and support them and subscribe. It costs them absolutely nothing. Just to hit a like button, hit a subscribe button, and watch videos in your spare time. We ain't telling you to watch videos while you're supposed to be doing work at work. We just want you to watch us in your spare time whenever you get a chance to. And let us know how we can do better. So I'd like to thank you for that, and peace.